Having your last name in a video game for a character is a surreal experience. Hello everyone, my name is Dustinkreis, not Kreis, and I'm here with my early impressions for this game right here. Final Fantasy XIII-2. And go ahead and pause it right now and let the little bar fill up, because I have a feeling this is going to be a long one, because I've kind of structured this in 3 parts. There's going to be a really short objective, there's going to be a little bit longer subjective, and then I'm going to rant a little bit. So, you know, you can drop off wherever you feel comfortable. But I do feel like I'm going to go on for a little bit with this one. And because in a lot of ways, I don't think this game is getting a fair shake. And we'll get to that later. But, you know, I'm doing this and I'm making it kind of a long video because I'm actually having kind of an interesting experience with this game. An experience I didn't think I was going to have. And I just want to kind of give my thoughts on it and sort of talk about how I think the game is not getting a fair chance, we'll put it that way. So, let me get right into it, and let me give you my objective early impressions of Final Fantasy II, so you can sort of decide if you're going to get the game or not. And I'm not talking to the extremists here. I'm not talking to the people that hate it so much that they're not going to buy it no matter what I say. I'm not talking to people that are who love Final Fantasy XIII and went out and pre-ordered it as soon as they heard about it. I'm talking to you people in the middle who haven't picked up the game yet and are kind of on the fence about it, because with me, you know, when 13 came out, I didn't enjoy it that much. But I've really kind of sat down and thought about why did I not enjoy 13 as much as I should have. And it really comes down to one thing and one thing alone, and that is the name. If Final Fantasy XIII was named anything else, I would have been more accepting of it. But because it was a Final Fantasy, I just immediately, well, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right. And I never gave the game a fair chance to be its own thing. So, that is really why I'm going to be doing it this way. So anyway, so you people who hate Final Fantasy XIII and don't care, then I don't know why you're watching this video anyway. If you people who already love it, you know, maybe this will sort of support your theories on it and stuff like that. But really, I'm talking to you guys who haven't picked up the game yet and is kind of on the fence about it. So here is my objective thoughts on Final Fantasy XIII-2. And for my objective thoughts, all you have to do is look at the front of the box. What you are getting is Final Fantasy XIII-2. You are getting a slightly updated, revamped, enhanced, whatever word you want to use, version of Final Fantasy XIII. That's all that really needs to be said for the objective. If you remove all emotion from it and just look at it objectively, that's what you're getting. So there's that for you people that just kind of want to know what you're getting with this game. So when we move into the subjective, where I start talking about, I start putting my emotions into it, my own experiences, my own thoughts on it, it's getting interesting because I'm actually kind of enjoying my time with 13.2. And, you know, the graphics are just as good as 13's were, so it's kind of as good as an older game is. There are some hiccups. You'll notice with the in-game cutscenes, there is a frame rate drop. It's not game crashing, it's not game hindering, it's just noticeable. You'll notice that when they move, they kind of have a weird jilted movement to them. Doesn't hurt the game at all. It's just kind of, you know, you just notice it. That's all. The gameplay, it plays exactly like 13. The battle system's the same. The monster thing is a cool addition, but really it doesn't change the battles all that much. You just pick 3 monsters to be part of your paradigm pack, and, you know, basically you just, essentially that's a third character with 3 different paradigms that you can just switch. Does that make sense? The exploration, the world exploration, of course, the areas are bigger. I have not come across an area as big as Grand Pulse was when you finally got to it in 13, but I'm assuming that eventually you get to those places because I've seen sort of gameplay of huge areas. These areas are bigger and not as confined as they were in 13, but they're by no means, you're not getting Grand Pulse the entire time. What else? The storyline, I can't really talk too much about the storyline because I'm only about 10 hours in, and I don't really like talking about storylines until I get to the end with some perspective. So the only thing I will say is that I read an interview where one of the developers of the game said that they tried to, and that they thought that they succeeded in besting Chrono Trigger's time travel. Well, one, Chrono Trigger is not really the benchmark for time travel in games anymore. I really think Radiant Historia is the benchmark for time travel in games. And this game comes nowhere even close to having sort of the consistency that Radiant Historia had, and even Chrono Trigger had, in terms of its time travel. For some reason, and well, you know, actually, now that I think about it, it might be because here in the West, we think of time as a linear thing. And in more Eastern thoughts, time is more of a circle. So in this game, when you change events in the future, it also retroactively changes things in the past a little bit. So to our Western minds, a little drink of water there. To our Western minds, that doesn't make sense. How can changing the future affect the past? But to a more Eastern thought process, that might make more sense. It might just be a cultural thing. But the time travel in no way is as good as Radiant Historia. So don't listen to that, that's kind of BS. But the one place where this game really excels is the music. The music is fantastic, and maybe it's just because I picked up the collector's edition with the 4-disc soundtrack and able to really explore the music, which I wasn't able to do with 13. I didn't get the soundtrack to that. And, you know, to be honest with you, I don't really remember the music from 13, but I'm really remembering the music from this because, of course, I'm listening to it on my car rides every day. And it's a very varied soundtrack. You guys are going to get a lot of vocal songs on this. So that kind of, you know, it depends on what you think about that. You know, for me personally, Sanctuary by Utada for Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my favorite songs. I mean, when that song came on when I played that game, my jaw dropped because I thought it was so great. Simple and Clean was good, but Sanctuary knocked it out of the park. That being said, there's no real Sanctuary in this game, but there are some really cool, nice songs that have the vocals with them. There are some bad ones, like some heavy metal tracks that kind of remind me of Blue Dragon's boss battle theme, which was atrocious and awful. Nothing that bad, but it still kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. But for the most part, I'm really digging the music. I really like the music in this game. And if you guys are on the fence about picking it up, I would definitely say go get the collector's edition so you get that 4-disc soundtrack. And even if you're not thinking about picking it up, maybe look into going to Squaresoft's store, and you can buy the 4-disc soundtrack off of there. But yeah, really digging that music and really enjoying it. Now, for the rant, because my experience with this game has kind of led me to a sort of realization. And Chargeback Forward has already done a video on this where they basically lambasted the modern gaming press for, you know, not giving games their fair due. You know, we live in a very, I don't know how to word it, blockbuster world. Like, only blockbuster movies seem to be worth seeing anymore, and only AAA titles are really worth reviewing with high scores. And while this is kind of a AAA title, it definitely did not get its fair shake by the gaming press, by the gaming community at large, and basically by Square Enix itself. So I'm going to rant a little bit about this, and hopefully this all makes sense, and hopefully I don't step on anyone's toes, but I'm actually a little agitated because I'm actually agitated by a lot of, not specific people, but by like the RPG community at large, how they're kind of treating this game. So let me just go ahead and start off with the gaming press. And I can't remember, because I've read so many reviews for this game, I can't remember what site it actually was. But one of the sites actually had the audacity to criticize the game because it still felt very Japanese. The game was developed in Japan. Blows my mind. Well, they did a lot of improvements for this game, but it's still a very Japanese game. When did being a Japanese game become a bad thing? You know what I mean? It's like, in my brain, when did being a liberal become a bad thing, you know? It's not really good or bad, it's just a different point of view. So, you know, they got Western games and you have Japanese games. All of a sudden now Japanese games are like looked upon as inferior for some reason. And I don't know if it's because video gaming has become much more macho with like the Call of Duties and things like that. And whereas when I was a gamer, you know, it was all Japanese games. You know, when I was a kid, that's what you played because the Western developed games were crap. And, you know, you wanted those Japanese games because they were higher quality. Now, of course, you know, Japan has kind of, you know, relied on that and not really progressed forward. But at the same time, like, Japanese games are still great. And I don't understand why that's like a slam now to call a game in Japanese. Especially when you take a look at the game world and how creative it is, you know. And they criticized the character design, saying they were too Japanese. And it just blew my mind because I'm sitting here and a lot of people have talked about this Kingdoms of Amalur game. And I might not be saying that right, but I've looked into this game and I have zero interest in this game. I've watched gameplay footage, I've seen pics, I've read impressions of it, and to be honest with you, it sounds and looks like Fable to me. And I've already played Fable. And I don't really care for Fable anymore. So I don't really see the point of, you know, buying this game. And it kind of leads me to a point where, this might surprise you guys, but I'm actually getting really sick of Western action RPGs. And really, it's a design choice. Because I feel like Japanese games, yes, they're always kind of crazy and kooky, but it feels like every game has a different game world. A different culture, a different, you know, people, everything. When I look at these Western action RPGs, I see one world, and that's Middle Earth. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't every fucking Western RPG game look like Lord of the Rings? And, I mean, this has been a thing since gaming began. Look at Dungeons and Dragons. They lifted huge amounts of crap out of Lord of the Rings. So, you know, when Western RPGs can start developing, you know, their own game worlds without relying so much on Tolkien, then Western RPGs are going to be great again. You know, I still really like Skyrim. I still really love Mass Effect. I still really love the Fallout games. But for the rest of them, I just look at them and I'm like, God, Dragon Age? I mean, I have Dragon Age 1. I've never played it. But, you know, I know what that company, I know what a BioWare game is like, but I just look at it and I'm like, good God, it's just Lord of the fucking Rings. So, don't get me wrong, I'm really excited for The Hobbit coming out. But at the same time, you know, like, all these games that are coming out by Western developers look the same. And then you knock these Japanese games that look different, blows my mind. I mean, colorful, beautiful graphics. And because this world isn't like grayscale and dark and gritty, it's like, oh, that's too weird for us. It's too Japanese. Just blows my mind how these are, and this is the objective and mainstream video game press. You know, this is not just some asshole on YouTube, you know, venting his opinion. This is supposed to be the mainstream press that are just, you know, a game from Japan and it's Japanese? Ooh. Blows my mind. But anyway, and in a lot of ways that kind of goes over to the RPG community at large, because here's the truth of it, guys. I've really thought about this a long time. If you are like me, and you are a JRPG fan, you are in the middle of the desert. we are in a drought, okay? The pendulum one time swung our way. PS1, PS2, JRPGs were king. The pendulum has swung back, and now it is first-person shooters and Lord of the Rings clones. Eventually, hopefully, if video gaming continues after this generation, it'll swing back to us, and people will get sick of all these realistic games and want, you know, the Japanese, crazy, kooky, wild-looking games. But until that time, we are in a drought. We are in a desert, okay? And we're sitting out there in the desert. It's hot. We're sweating. We're thirsty. We keep thinking to ourselves, man, I really want some nice, cool, refreshing lemonade. And we got this idea of lemonade in our heads. And off in the distance, we see this guy come into us holding a cup. And as he gets closer, you know, our brains are percolating with lemonade. Delicious. And he hands us ice cold water. Hands us ice cold water. We want lemonade, but we get ice cold water. And I feel like in a lot of ways, a lot of people out there simply look that guy in the face and dump the water out in front of him and say, that's not what I wanted. And, you know, like I said, we're in a drought, guys, and beggars can't be choosers. I mean, we have a lot of great RPGs coming out, but if you really love JRPGs, I mean, we're not getting very many, and if we don't, you know, support these companies, even if, you know, this game, like I said, this game is not perfect. It's not perfect. But if we don't support these companies and show them that there's still a demand for these types of games over here, they're going to stop bringing them over here. You know, look at Xenoblade. Look at the struggle to get Xenoblade over here. These games take a lot more effort to bring over here than action games. And with the prevalence of Western studios, you know, and how many games are now made over here in the States, or in Canada, or in Europe, you know, Japan is having a harder time cracking our market. And if we don't support these games and these game companies, like, you know, the big one I want you guys to support, you know, Square Enix is fine. They're going to do fine. But really support XC, really support Atlas, really support NIS. You know, these smaller companies that are bringing these Japanese games over here for us, you know. If we don't support these things, they're going to stop doing it. Because it is a business. As much as I hate to say that, it is a business. So, you know, when I see everyone out there just like slamming this game without even giving it a shot, I get a little bit upset because I'm playing it now, and, you know, 13 really was a big paradigm shift. But now that I know what to expect from 13-2, I'm actually really kind of enjoying it more. So that's what I'm telling you guys. If you're on the fence about this game, you know, give it a shot. It may change your mind. If it doesn't, you know, I don't know. Return it, trade it in, wait till it gets cheap, but definitely give it a shot because, you know, the storyline may be weak. I don't know. I haven't got all the way through it yet. I've heard rumors that it's kind of weak and has a non-fulfilling ending. But, you know, we don't get very many JRPGs anymore. And I think that trend's going to continue for a little while until the pendulum swings back our way. So until then, we might as well enjoy what we get and not be so hypercritical about it. I know if you watch my earlier Final Fantasy video, I slammed 13 when I got to 13. But now that I'm older, wiser, and I've kind of looked back on it a little bit, I realized that really my big problem with it is called Final Fantasy. If it was called anything else, I would have enjoyed it more. So that is my rant on, and my early impressions on 13-2. Definitely give it a shot if you're on the fence about it. If you already have made up your mind on 13 and you're firm in that, this game's not going to change your mind on it. But I'm going to do a much more in-depth game discussion video without the rant, where I just, you know, talk about the game in and of itself. But you know, I really wanted to say that to you guys because I love JRPGs and my genre is quickly disappearing, and I really do feel that you have to support what is out there. You know, it may not be what you want, but it might just be what you need. So that is it. I know I kind of got militant there. You probably saw a little flash in my eyes that you probably hadn't seen before, but I don't know. I just feel like, you know, we're in such a precarious time. You know, in North America, we don't know if Last Story's coming out yet. We got Xenoblade, but if Xenoblade doesn't sell, Nintendo's not bringing out the Last Story. And that's the end of the story. So, go pre-order Xenoblade. Even if you've illegally pirated it, just go get it. Be a legitimate person. Write to Nintendo. Tell them how much you love JRPGs and how much you want them to continue. Because Nintendo's still a Japanese company. Sony's a Japanese company. They still will bring those games over here. Microsoft, maybe. You know, there are some really good RPGs on the Xbox 360, but I really feel that, you know, Nintendo and Sony really need to know that the Japanese games are still wanted over here in America. So definitely write Nintendo America, and let's get Last Story over here. I kind of turned that into a Last Story thing, but yeah. Alright, I'm going to stop talking because my throat's about ready to be parched. Don't have lemonade here, but I do have a nice cool glass of water. And it's pretty refreshing, and I'm enjoying it. So, that is my impressions, early impressions on 13-2, with a rant thrown in for you. So, hopefully you guys don't take that personally. It's not directed at anybody in particular. It's just kind of directed at everything as a whole. And, yeah. So, I will do a game discussion video like I normally do when I finish this game. And then we will go on from there. Other than that, I don't really know what other content I'm going to be putting up here soon. I might take a little bit of a break to sort of let the channel breathe for a little bit. But yeah. So, thanks for watching. Hopefully I didn't piss you guys off. And, you know, keep watching. Tell me what you think. You know. Unless you're like, oh, I hate 13 and I think you're stupid. I don't need to hear that. I already know I'm stupid. But, yeah. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.